And so our third school is Harker. And so a brief introduction about Harker is, according to the parents that we've talked to, it is a very well-rounded school. You'll see throughout these slides that they try and take a little bit from Basis and a little bit from Nueva and kind of create their own system. It's located in San Jose. The main grade entrances are kindergarten, grade 6, and grade 9. For some admission numbers last year, about 60 students were admitted for kindergarten, 40 to 45 for grade 6, and about 40 for grade 9. Their teacher to student ratio is 1 to 11. And for their AP scores, 90% received a 4 or higher, and almost 100%, 98% received a 3 or higher. Their average GPA weighted, they did not provide unweighted, but weighted it is 4.05. And for their tuition breakdown, they currently have $41,400 for lower school, $49,300 for middle school, and $53,800 for upper school. For their admission rates, they did see a drop like most schools for UC Berkeley by about 9% from 24 to 15.5. And then for UCLA, it went up by about a percentage point from 15.85 to 16.76. Now for key characteristics about Harker School, similar to Nueva, there is an IQ test that is required, but it is just from K to grade 2 instead of K to grade 8. And they are ahead of the Common Core system by about 1.5 years. Similar to Basis, students can take higher level science courses like high school level courses such as chemistry, physics, biology as early as grade 6 if they show that they are definitely ready for that high level. And then they do have 2 academic pathways, such as which are for English and math. If a student is more gifted at English or more gifted at math, they won't essentially take more courses of that subject, but they'll take higher level courses. They'll start at a higher level or they'll go up quicker because they are more gifted or they excel at that subject, are very passionate in it. And they definitely do have more specific individual pathways for each option of English and math. And then lastly, for elementary school, or they call it lower school, the elementary school level is not as demanding. In the elementary school level, we'll cover this in the next slide, they do focus more on having students find their passion academically, which subjects they're interested in, kind of learning that subject through play. However, the workload does significantly increase in middle school and especially high school. In high school, because they are trying to gear up for college and do everything they can to get into that college that they desire to get into. And then also because there's a lot more competition to get into Harker from grade 6 or grade 9, because their students are competing against a lot of other students who come from higher up private schools or higher level public schools in general, like a private school such as Helios, Stratford, or Challenger. So that competition and that high level of students definitely increases the workload for everyone else. For feedback regarding Harker, from the parents, they said that the curriculum, especially for computer science and high-tech education technology in the classroom applications, is very impressive. For example, students are introduced to aspects such as coding, VR from a very young age, even as early as kindergarten through grade 2, they're introduced to Osmo coding family to learn the basics of coding through playing. And then even grade 4 students will use Scratch to do their programming. Scratch is essentially a high level block-based programming program that allows students to kind of learn the basics of coding. It's usually for students around 8 to 16. And so kind of what you can see from this parent feedback is that Harker definitely encourages students to get interested in coding, get interested in programming or computer science, and they want them to kind of learn it through play from a young age, so that once they get to the higher grades, they don't really see it as a chore or like a class, but they see it as more of a hobby. And also, since they learn it from a young age, they'll be ahead of their peers. So, some people, students, they don't really learn coding until high school, so they'll definitely be ahead of their peers. So that's kind of a main characteristic for Harker, is that they do kind of focus a lot on the computer science and coding aspect. For the parents' Q&A, some of the common questions that we received from Harker, there was a decent amount. The first one was how to be more prepared for the admission process. And essentially, students want to be well-rounded and have various interests, show off their unique skills in any way that they can. And then also one great way to kind of stand out in the admission process is for the student to have a deep interest in sports. Harker definitely likes students who are interested in sports. They're always trying to improve what their sporting program and like the quality of students that are in there. So especially for high school, if your student is trying to enter Harker from grade 9, if they're interested in say like water polo, volleyball, any sport, definitely showcase that and have that deep interest, and the school will definitely take that into consideration. And then the next one is donating very important at Harker. So donating is not mandatory at Harker. From the parents that we've talked to, most parents donate about 1,000 to 2,000 every year. There's a donation list that's sent out, and the more parents donate, the higher up in the list they are. So if that is something that you would like to do, you can definitely do that. However, donating is not mandatory. And then the third question is, how do I know whether my child can possibly be admitted to Harker? And for this one, there's kind of two ways that you can go about this. The first one is that one way to help your admission progress is that if your child attends a top elementary or middle school. Elementary if they're trying to get in from grade 6, and then middle school if they're trying to get in from grade 9. This can be a top private school such as like a Helios or Stratford or a Challenger, or even like a top public school in this San Jose area, Cupertino area. Faria is definitely a popular elementary school, and then Miller for middle school. But if you don't have that, it's totally okay. One way that you can still get admitted to Harker and have your chances increase is if your child is in the top 10% of performing students at their respective elementary or middle school. And then the last question we got was, when should I consider sending my child to Harker? So this one is more of whatever you prioritize, what's your personal interests or your personal concerns, but we did have two kind of advantages and disadvantages for each to kind of help you make that decision. And so for sending your child to Harker at an early age, such as kindergarten, the main advantage is that you get a secured spot. It's definitely easier to get admitted to Harker from the K grade, because as you saw, there's definitely more students that are getting admitted from K, and the application, it's not as competitive. So you do get that secured spot, and your child can go to Harker for as long as they like. But the disadvantage is that obviously costs more money because you're at Harker the whole time instead of maybe at like a public school. And then for the later age, the main advantage is that it does save money. However, the disadvantage is that it is more difficult to get into due to the competition level with students coming in from all these top rated schools like a Helios, a Stratford, or a Challenger. So hopefully that helps your decision for a little, helps you make that decision a little bit. But now